Welcome back to the show. Today, I saw a post actually like a couple weeks ago breaking down the Odyssey, and I want to talk about it. Supposedly it's actually a poem back in the day that a guy wrote in different sections that was later turned into a book. Maybe I will read the book because the movie was phenomenal, but I want to talk about the monsters in the movie and some of the things that I feel like correlate to our life, right? Because the history of these stories, I think are very similar. And the reason why is you'll see as we go through the podcast, but let's talk about monster number one in the movie. And that was the Sirens, the beautiful voices singing straight into the rocks, right? And Odysseus during this scene actually tied himself up. And if you haven't seen the movie, listen, I'm not going to spoil anything, but maybe this isn't the podcast for you, but he tied himself up. And the craziest thing is that when you really think about it, he didn't wait for willpower or say, oh, I'm strong enough, I'm just going to stand here and I'll be fine. He tied himself up before the song even started. And then obviously he gave his crew some stuff to put in his ears or their ears, but some of them jumped over the ship anyway, right? And I think about this, right? Distraction was the monster. Distraction was the thing that gets people off. Distraction is the temptation. How does it correlate to our day? Social media is the distraction. Chasing money is the distraction. Chasing fame is the distraction. And I'm not saying these things are bad inherently, but when that's all it is that you're going after, or that's the empty boat that you're chasing, right? That's the difference. And when I think back to my college football days, the separation from the guys who got better every single year versus the guys who just stayed the same. I'm just going to call it a plateau. It wasn't talent. At the end of the day, one of the biggest distinctions for me after seeing this in real time and the guys that became NFL stars or just became the best at their craft, we would be in the same room watching game film. But one guy was locked in, rewinding the play over and over, getting 4 or 5 reps on the same thing, while the other guy is in the room with his phone underneath the table, or dozed off, or just barely focusing, right? Distracted. Distraction is what leads you down this path that you don't want to be on, right? You really have to do it yourself, right? You have to set yourself up in a way to not be distracted. And man, do we all know the doom scroll, the social media distraction, the, I'll do it someday distraction, the next week I'll start distraction. It's all, the same thing, the same monster that they dealt with, the sirens, the voices, the sailors were jumping into the rocks, right? And when you can control that, you control this first monster, right? So protect your attention before the day even starts, before the temptations even come, right? Set yourself up in a way that you're able to get after it and not be taken down by all the distractions. Simple things, right? Like keeping your phone on do not disturb, or keeping your phone off, or Opal is an app I love, to block all the social media apps when I'm working and when I'm supposed to be focused. Just like in the college football room, when you're supposed to be focused, there's a presence and there's an attention to detail that separates the good from the great every single time. So that's monster number one. Monster number two in the movie was the Cyclops, right? The big freaking huge giant, right? In the cave. Odysseus, obviously the crew, all of them, they blind the big thing. They escape clean, home free. And then he literally can't help himself. He turns back and shouts his name, across the water and still has to hit him one more time. And he also wants to let him know that he beat him, right? That one scene in the movie, in the actual time frame, it cost them and the crew 10 years because of his ego. He just wanted the credit. He just wanted the attention that hey, I beat you. I've done this. in a version of myself in my sales career early on. I closed some people. I got on a hot streak. I won the argument, whatever it is, right? You feel like you won. And at the end of the day, that's when you lose because your ego takes over thinking that you did it all, right? You did all these things, right? Wrong. If you can illuminate yourself and give the credit to the person that took action to change, that's how I look at it. I give the credit to the person now. And obviously to God for setting me up in this opportunity, right? Ego loses the fight when you've already won, which is crazy, right? It cost them 10 years just because of his ego. And I think it's cost me a lot of years not being the best salesperson I could be because I didn't let go. I didn't give credit where credit was due. I wanted to inflate my ego. I got the sell. I did this. I worked hard for this. No, give the credit to the person that you're talking to. They made the decision. They made the jump. They're the one changing. They did it. And then also give credit to the opportunity, to God for lining it up for you, right? Because none of that would happen if those things don't align. That's how I think about it now. Because it keeps my ego in check. It keeps me realizing that it's not me, right? It's doing and wanting all the credit. That's monster number 2, ego. Monster number 3 in the movie. You guys know what I'm talking about here. Comfort. This was a huge one. The Lotus Eaters. So you guys remember, right? They get on this island. They don't get chained up. They don't get attacked by an army. This is when he was stuck on the island. Odysseus. No, actually, if I'm remembering right in the movie, yeah, this is where Odysseus was stuck on the island and he wasn't getting captured. He was eating this lotus fruit, I think it was, and it kind of made you forget that you ever wanted to go home. And in the movie, you realize that he's like trying to break through. He's remembering who he was. He sees the boat on this island that he's on and he's like, I swear I had a crew. I know I had a family that I'm getting home to. And that identity pulls him out of this place. And you find that in the movie, I think the monster that they're trying to talk about is comfort, being average, staying mediocre, stopping where you're at. You hit a certain level of success and just totally putting the brakes on, the cruise control, relaxing, right? I think everybody has a season like that. I've had a season like that where it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And I look back and I had regrets because I wasn't pushing. There was so much more to do, so much more levels I could get to, right? And you have to remember, I believe what pulls you out of that state is remembering who you want to become, remembering what you truly want, remembering that this life is short. You'll only get 80 to 100 years here, right? Or who knows, maybe 120 with all the science and whatnot, but you only have so much time. And if you continue cruising and being stuck there, comfort will just silently kill all of your hopes and dreams, kill everything that you want to become, telling you that everything's fine. That is the third monster. Okay. Then we've got monster 4, and this is where they're on the boat and Odysseus has to decide which way to go, right? And there's monsters on both sides. There's a monster on one side and there's a whirlpool on the other side. And here's the part, right, where he's got to choose one option that has bad things, and then a whirlpool that has bad things. Both decisions are going to be hard. And how many times in life are we dealt with those decisions where both are going to be hard? You want to stay in comfort land, but hey, the boat's moving. You got to pick one or the other, or it's going to pick for you. And I think in this moment, he picks the option that cost him because one of them would cost him everything, his ship, his crew, he would lose it all. One of them, he may have a chance he'll get through, right? And he picks that option because he knows that the other option would cost him everything. And I think that in life, now being a dad, and having kids, I think about these options that our kids deal with. And you can't save your kids from the struggle, the monsters, the pain, right? Because that will ruin your kid forever, right? And so you have to choose the path where the kid has to battle the monster still. There is no option with no cost. But if you choose the one that's going to take you down and don't don't make a choice, it will cost you everything that you do want, right? And there is no perfect one. That doesn't exist. But if you wait for that, it will pull you under in the whirlpool, right? And so that was the option that I made, or that was the analogy that I made from that one. Monster 5 was, this is the most impactful for me because I thought about this one. The crew survives everything and they make it to this other place, right? In this other island. And they were warned not to touch anything and not to eat the cattle, right? And they eat the sacred cattle anyway. One meal, that's it. That is what ended that. What an interesting one. Because as soon as you let off the gas, as soon as you believe that it's no big deal, right? It's just one choice. It's just one meal. It's just one day. The choice will cost you on day 900. You've been good for 900 days on your diet. Boom, the temptation comes. You don't think it's a big deal. And then you're downward spiraling the other way. It can literally happen that quickly. That's why it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. If you don't wake up today and win the day, all of the rest is for nothing. And I'm not saying we got to be perfect, but you got to get back on track quickly. You can't just let off the gas and say, oh, it's just one meal. It's just one day. I can have what I want. I can enjoy because I've had 900 days of progress. It's the temptation of just rewarding yourself too much. Right? Or thinking that it gets easier. I talked about this on another podcast. Waking up doesn't get easier, really. The temptation is always there to sleep in. Working out, it's always going to be there to skip your workout. All these choices are constant, right? It's a daily choice. Not, I did this for 1,000 days. Now I can just forget it for some time. Once you go down that path, you'll downward spiral so quickly. And that's the biggest threat. That's the biggest monster, right? Those are the 5 monsters that I got from this post online. Obviously there was a lot more in different ones, but the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to remember is Odysseus, right? He wasn't the strongest. He was the fastest, but he did make it home. And he was the only one that made it home. Not because he avoided every monster. He went through a lot of them, but he kept choosing to get home one day at a time. And this was actually 10 years of this voyage, right? Your identity can take you to places that you don't believe are even possible for yourself. It's not motivation. It's not just surviving. It's the identity that you want to make it home. You want to make it to where you believe home is for yourself. Everybody has a dream for themselves. Everybody has somebody that they want to become. And if you don't lose sight of that, if it's going to take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, at least you didn't forget your identity. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away. The monsters are never going to be disappeared. They've just changed who they are. Ego, comfort, impatience, and one bad decision on a random Tuesday after being 900 days. I'm just using the diet analogy. 900 days, good on your diet, been consistent, right? That's all it takes. Until next time. Appreciate you guys for listening in.